Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of parts, clusters, topics, patterns, and hurt that seem to bubble up from underneath deep down in your system on a regular basis? I definitely have been, and in this video and a few more to come, I'm gonna delve deeper into how you can map and keep track of all your parts. But what is mapping? Mapping is visually representing your parts in a way that shows the kind of relationship that they have between each other, and also keeping track of information that are mostly valuable to you in a way that makes sense to you. So the purpose of mapping is basically to see the different parts that create a certain cluster, for example, in a way that is very intuitive for you to remember who is who and what who does, and at the same time also allows you to get clarity, to better understand how these parts work together in the system, inside of you, what kind of patterns and behaviors they're connected to, and at the same time also a way to allow yourself to create more trust with these parts by not forgetting about them. I remember when I was doing my level 1 training, the trainer was talking about how important it is to create trust between you and your parts, how important it is to keep our promises, to not forget about parts so that they get reabandoned all over again, and how important it is to set intentions to go and visit them again, especially if that's something that they need and they are asking for. And so already in my level 1 training, I realized that there are a lot of parts. And I don't know about you, but when I started working with IFS, it kind of felt like a shit show. There were new parts popping up all the time, and it was really hard for me to keep track of all of them. And at the same time, I had this, this pressure. There was definitely my perfectionist part at play there, that kept reminding me that we should keep our word and keep our promises and keep our intentions. But that was not necessarily easy, as life usually does what life does better, which is kind of disrupt plans. And so I started experimenting with different ways in which I could visualize these parts in a way that was more intuitive, more clear, and would actually help me do IFS less from my head and more from my heart. And in this video, I will share specifically about mapping and a few exercises that I find very valuable for myself. I will also show you some examples from myself and how those look like then when you have them on paper. And in follow-up videos, you will also find the exercises themselves so that you can actually follow along. You will find them either in the description or at the end of the video. So I hope you are ready to go into mapping. And I will start with one of my favorite exercises, which is called the Campfire Mapping exercise. This is a mapping exercise that works really, really well when there is one topic or one decision that you need to make, and you would like to get a little bit of clarity. Maybe there are many voices that are pulling in different directions, that they want you to do different things, and that creates, that kind of cluttered, chaotic kind of feeling into your head in which you cannot make decisions at all. Or maybe you want to address a bigger topic or a bigger pattern and understand what kind of parts are coming together. And the campfire, in its essence, is an exercise in which from whatever amount of self-energy is available in that moment, you invite the different parts of you that are connected to a certain topic, to a certain behavior, to a certain decision you want to make, and invite them to join you around the campfire, to share whatever are their opinions, whatever fears, expectations they're holding on to, what hopes they might have in that regard. And the campfire creates that feeling of safe, warm space in which all your parts can come forward and then can be listened to one by one. And it is a very powerful exercise. And you can find in the description below a link to the meditation that you can do in your own time to follow along and experience the campfire mapping exercise. But I would just like to show you how it looks like. So this is a campfire exercise that I actually did, 3 years ago. And as you can see, there is a campfire in the middle, and one by one, different parts join the campfire. And inside, I either have the name of the part that popped up, or a little bit more about the part wants, about what the part needs, or what the part is doing, whatever information the part shared with me, or anything that I find valuable or meaningful about the part. For example, all these parts up here are frustrated parts. They are frustrated because they're all very excited. They are creative parts. They are parts that want to create something. They find a lot of joy in planning things, in bringing them to life, in serving others. But at the time in which I did this exercise, there were other parts that were very active, and they were not allowing these excited parts to bring their creations to life. Of course, because they were scared that something bad would happen. And so as I could listen to the different parts that were frustrated up here, I could also welcome the parts that were scared, the parts that were unsure, that felt that all this excitement was threatening the system, because it came with a little bit of a burnout energy. And as the campfire welcomes more and more parts around the fire, it also creates this very unique and special feeling of togetherness. And if there is enough self-energy to really be a container, to really holding the energy of all these parts, what happens is that they very naturally start looking around. They start noticing each other. They start maybe feeling that the others are a little bit less of a threat because of your presence, because of your self-energy, because of the safety that you are bringing to the campfire. And as they are there together, sharing, actually being witnessed by all the other parts and being witnessed by you, a lot of space can create itself to allow for that clarity and that flow that often enough is so difficult to connect to in life. So this is my campfire exercise. I hope that you will try the meditation, because it's a very beautiful exercise to not only hear from each one of your parts, but at the same time also really bringing them together in a space that feels safe and in a space of belonging. Then I'd like to show you another couple of ways that you can use to do mapping, to map your parts. So this is the most easy way of representing parts and their relationships. And it's something that you can use after a session, or it's something that you can use when you want to map something that is even more, significant with many parts involved. But it looks a little bit like this. As you can see, there are different kind of parts. And in this one, it's not shown very well because there are only a lot of managers and firefighters. But there is an exile over here, but I didn't use the usual arrow that I use to connect parts. So when there is a protector protecting an exile, I use an arrow to show it, while this symbol indicates a polarization. So these two parts are polarized against each other. This part wants to be liked, and this part wants to be authentic. And I used to have a very strong polarization between two parts, because in my system, it did not feel safe to be authentic, because me being authentic meant rejection when I was a child. And here there are like the part that is very, very frustrated about this whole situation and is mostly polarized, with the part that wants to be liked, with, of course, the ever-present shame here in a corner, which later on I discovered to be much more diffused and a sort of a container in itself of everything that was happening in my system. Another way of mapping that I find very valuable is to just allow each part to represent itself in a way that it feels meaningful, that it feels valuable. So in a way, it's about feeling into the essence of the part and almost allowing it to draw itself, which is something that happened in this example that I'm going to show you in a moment. There are sessions in which you deep dive into one part. There are sessions in maybe there are 2 or 3 parts, a full cluster that comes into clarity. But there are sessions in which a whole topic or theme comes together. And this was one of those sessions for me. It was around a child holding the belief that there was something wrong with her because her own mother didn't like her, or at least that's how she felt. She felt that her mother didn't love her mother didn't like her, and there must be something really wrong with her. And surrounding this child, there were, of course, different protectors. There were dissociating protectors. There were managers, firefighters, and another exile that was actually connected as well, being held even deeper in the system and even more exiled. What I did in this case is after the session, just very intuitively, I've put the exiled, the child in the center. And as I was doing the session, my parts were clearly positioned in specific places in my visual. And then I represented them on paper exactly where I found them in my experience. And I would like to show you a little bit how that looks like. So you can see that there is the child in the middle. It doesn't really look like a child, so my art skills are very limited, but I actually learned to just accept how my art looks like. So there was the child in the middle, and as you can see, there are many different parts protecting it. This was a part that, in a way, repackaged me many times throughout my whole childhood so that I would become more acceptable towards my mother. And unfortunately, it never managed. It failed over and over again. But what happened is that I lost me. Because the more it repackaged me, the more I lost my essence, the more I lost that feeling, that knowing of who I am. And this is a main protector, the main protector of the whole cluster. The part, this is supposedly a sword, the part that says we fight, we survive. And this was actually a part I felt so grateful for because it was actually dragging. It's a part that was very much in the head and was dragging the whole body. And the body didn't necessarily survive this process, this growth, this being repackaged and rejected and never being good enough. And this is the part that just kept the whole system going, literally dragging the whole body behind. These are dissociative parts. Mostly these 2 are dissociative parts. They were just taking me away from my suffering, from my pain. They were offering to actually be with me, to keep me company, and to wait until everything would be over. This was the other exile, and this is a part that desperately wanted to live and wanted to find meaning in life. And this is a similar example, but yet a different one. Let me show you how this looks like. This was different in the sense that this drawing was the session itself. So I did not do a session and then took the time to revisit the session and draw my parts or organize in a way, reprocess what happened to remember the important pieces. In this, I actually allowed this drawing to be the session. And it was from a journaling prompt that's simply enough for us to start drawing a part of me that I already knew. And I started drawing my planning part, which is also my creative part. Now that is not holding such an extreme role anymore. And interestingly enough, as I was drawing this planning part, more and more parts came in asking to be drawn, asking to be added to this representation because they were all connected to each other. And I found that very fascinating how sometimes just the act of starting drawing a part brings in other parts that we are not necessarily aware of. In this case, I was aware of all the parts but one. When the drawing was finished, a new part came in because it felt that it was missing. And so it came forward to be seen, to be witnessed for what it does in the system. And that was actually a very important piece of the puzzle that was missing for me. I hope that this was valuable to you. Please write in the comments whatever resonated the most to you. I would be so happy to know what you need the most so that I can create it in this YouTube channel because it is for you.